Miranchuk into Muriel. Has two for company. He goes round one and the second, Muriel! The super sub is at it again. And it's late heartbreak. And Gianpiero Gasperini is head over heels for Luis Muriel on Valentine's Day.
The Calcio Guys is a weekly podcast by Adriano Donardo, Gianni Della Colli, and myself, Nicholas Di Giovanni. We want to bring Calcio back to its roots in our communities and share stories from around the world about why we're passionate about the beautiful game. You can listen to us anywhere where you listen to your podcasts, including Spreaker, Google Podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, iHeart Radio, and Mixcloud. Give us your opinion on social media at The Calcio Guys on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. The intro song is Fireworks by Jazar. I hope this episode starts better than Rodrigo Bentancur did for Juventus in the Champions League yesterday against Porto. Gianni Della Colli, Adriano Donardo, I'm Nicholas Di Giovanni, and we do have we are starting with a guest again this week, Conor Clancy from Forza Italian Football. Conor, how's it going?
Not too bad, guys. Thanks very much. It's a little bit cold, but I mean, nothing compared to what you're dealing with over there, so I can't complain.
It's just normal for us here in Montreal. So we want to talk a bit about Atalanta. We'll talk later about Parma, but we want to talk about Atalanta because of Champions League next week against Real Madrid. But they did come off the 1-0 win against Cagliari on the weekend. Muriel, super sub, late goal. Do you think like that's his role? Do you think he's like he should be a starter for this Atalanta team, or is he just like he's the guy who comes off the bench and scores those big goals?
He should never start a match. Never. There you go. He just shouldn't. When he starts, he's half the player that he is when he comes on, because he's got this like burst of pace, right? Which after 30 minutes he doesn't have anymore. So this whole thing of Duvan plays an hour and softens the defenders up, and then Lucho comes on and destroys them for 30 minutes. It works a treat. So no, Muriel should never start for Atalanta. For Colombia, fine. Not for Atalanta.
Johnny, Adri, you guys, I know we got a couple of social media questions, but before we get to those, if you guys have any questions.
Well, I actually have a couple. I wrote them down. So, if I have the floor.
Take it away.
Yeah, so I got one for on the Atalanta side, and I know you also cover Parma, so I have another one for the Parma side. So I'll give you free reign. Which one would you like to tackle on first?
Tempted to get Parma out of the way first, to be honest.
All right. So, as it's looking, if Parma does get regulated, who do you
think... or relegated, Johnny?
Relegated. Wow. Wow. Sorry, it's my brain no work sometime. I'm just kidding. If Parma does get relegated, who do you think that is going to be sold from the team? Who do you think probably stays to Serie A or moves on to a different league?
There's already talks that, he's barely a Serie A player, but Juan Brunetta looks like he's going to go back to Argentina in July, which seems a shame, but I'm not sure because I've not seen enough of him, because for some reason the new signings don't play. But if you look at the team and watch what they've done this year, who would you sign? Juraj Kucka, I'll defend that man's honour until my dying day, because he's been phenomenal since he went to Parma, and this season it's basically him, Luis Giuseppe, and 9 others. I never thought I'd be saying that Sepe was one of the better players that Parma had, but he absolutely is this season. Even Bruno Alves, God bless him. He's past it. He tries, and he's essential in terms of how the team are organised and how he can help other players through the game. But he himself is half the player he was even 12 months ago, and it's a real shame to see it. But Kucka would get sold. He could probably go to most Serie A clubs, barring the top 7. He could go to someone like Atalanta even and have a role there, not start, but have a role. But other than that, I don't know. The likes of Gagliolo and Jacoponi came up from Serie C with them. Yeah, it's really hard to know not only who would get sold, because I imagine a lot of them would need to get sold because you don't get money in Serie B, particularly with no fans coming in the door. So whoever has a suitor is probably going to be on the market in the summer if they get relegated.
If I may ask a follow-up question, because like obviously being a Roma fan, I have a partial liking to Gervinho. Do you think maybe a player like Gervinho probably has like a role as like maybe a depth player for another team, given the experience that he has in the league? And he can be still effective, as we see sometimes. But like, I'm not saying he's a phenomenal player, but he's still Gervinho. He's still doing pretty well.
We might want to schedule a podcast for this, for our feelings on Gervinho. Just let me and you in a room and chat it out about Gervinho, because he tried to get his move away from Parma last January, and I can't remember if it was he and D'Aversa fell out, or he and, I can't think of his name, Daniele Fagiano fell out. But basically, Gervinho wanted to leave last January, and he was almost going on strike to get the move to happen. He was kind of frozen out from the team. He was training alone. No one was talking to him at Calcio, but he got back in. The move fell through at the last minute, and since then he's been there, right? He's not really done much, but he's been there. Inter were linked with him inexplicably over the summer. Conte and his old Serie A players, I guess. And as a non-Parma fan who has watched Parma basically every game since they've been back in Serie A at the stadium as well, whenever they've played at home, I would love to see him leave, because he drives me mad. I think even when Parma were doing okay in Serie A, he was holding them back. This season, more than ever, I think he's holding them back. I do think you've got something in that he has something that he can give to a team, but that requires him to actually realize that he's not alone, because he doesn't pass the ball. He shoots from ridiculous angles if there are 10 players better placed than him. And if he doesn't shoot from the ridiculous angle, he'll try to run back into the box and beat 10 others to get there. He's infuriating. So, Inter, if you're listening, come get Gervinho so I don't have to watch him anymore, please. Well,
you heard it here first from Conor Clancy. Perfectly said. Conor, before we came on air, we had a little bit of a joke with the Roberto D'Aversa talks. Last time we spoke to you, that he was kind of in the heat of the discussion when we had spoken to you, and now he's back for round two. If there's any saving with this Parma team in the struggles that they have had, was bringing D'Aversa back the right call, and is he the one, if there is a chance for them to stay up in Serie A, is he the man right for that job?
I think he's proven that he was the right man to call back given the circumstances, but there was this weird narrative. I hate the word, but I'm sorry. There was this weird narrative and discourse on social media when Liverani got sacked and D'Aversa came back, and a lot of people who I guess probably don't watch Parma all the time, right? Because why would you? But They were saying, this shows that they shouldn't have sacked D'Aversa in the first place. They had a good thing, but that was nonsense. The D'Aversa parting made so much sense, and it was something that was taken with a heavy heart from both Parma and D'Aversa's side, but it made sense. He had taken them to a level, and he was unable to take them past that level. He showed it last season whenever he tried to veer away from his 4-3-3, it was a disaster. I was speaking about it on my podcast recently, so if you guys listen to that, I'm sorry, but there was a game against Bologna where he shifted from his 4-3-3 to a 3-5-2, and Parma went 2-0 down in the first half. Second half, back to 4-3-3, Parma drew 2-2. Recently against Bologna, he went for a 3-5-2, Parma got beaten 2-0, because even when he tried to mix things up in the second half, they didn't have a Dejan Kulusevski, basically, or a fit Roberto Inglese to help them pull it back. For a short-term appointment, I think D'Aversa makes sense, or at least made sense. The game against Sassuolo, where they didn't get a win, it was his second Serie A game. They had lost twice to Lazio in the Coppa Italia and in Serie A, which, I mean, you can take that, right? But they played very, very well against Sassuolo. They stuck to the classic D'Aversa game plan. Low block, hard to overcome. We'll get you on the counter-attack. And it was literally the last kick of the game that they conceded a penalty. Maxime Bouzy, just inexperienced defender, not played that much, confidence not high, did something silly, gave away a foul, and Filip Juric scored with literally the last kick of the game.
Yeah, I remember.
Their heads dropped, and they've not looked like doing anything since then. D'Aversa, can he turn it around from this position? Who knows? But, I mean, what's the alternative? Get Liverani back, because that was... I mean, we shouldn't even speak about that. It was so bad from the very, very beginning.
Yeah.
And they've already got 2 coaches on the books now. Is Kraus going to pay a third? I can't imagine it. So him and D'Aversa, or not him, he's in the USA at the moment, but he had a Zoom call with his son Oliver, who has an analytical role at Parma, was in the meeting with D'Aversa. Lucarelli was there as well. And Marcello Carli the other day. Nothing's come from that, so I guess either D'Aversa gets sacked if they lose this weekend, or they've decided to see it out until the end of the season. But the D'Aversa thing, yeah, if anyone's going to get them out of it, it'll be him. But there's a big asterisk beside that, right? Because a lot has happened since he saved them last time.
And one last question about Parma, about the new owner, Kyle Kraus. Another Italian team taken over by an American. What have you made of his ownership so far? I know it's a couple of months, but what have you made of it?
I think the timing didn't help things. You know, even the pandemic aside, he came in with, it was the last week of September, maybe around the 24th of September, and the transfer window closed on the 5th of October. Parma had done nothing, and they had lost Dejan Kulusevski, right? And he's irreplaceable, but you got to try. They had lost D'Aversa, they had got a new coach, a new sporting director. Parma were just sitting idle for so long, and Kraus came in and had to try and sort things out. Whether or not he went about things the right way, it's hard to say, because I mean, it did smack of desperation on Parma's part. The number of players they signed in that last week of the transfer window, that I think they were desperately unlucky, because they had Amad Diallo, then Amad Traore, I believe, wrapped up. That deal was done. He was coming to Parma on loan. He was going to be the next Dejan Kulusevski, you know, coming from Atalanta on loan to Parma. He's probably going to play on the right. Everything looked okay. But then United came and splashed 40 million in Atalanta's faces. So they said, we'll take this, forget the loan. That's not happening. You're going to Manchester. So if Diallo had gone there, I don't think Parma would be this bad. But he didn't. And now Kraus is faced with a real dilemma, because the January window has come and gone as well. And it was kind of similar, right? Not much happened for a couple of weeks. And then it went a little bit mad towards the end of the window. The players who he's brought in, for the most part, I joked about it earlier. I can't remember if we were recording or not, but they've not got a kick. You know, they're not getting a look in. Under Liverani, now, especially not under D'Aversa, because he's got his old trusted boys who, for some reason, keep getting a game. Like, I've got a personal bee on my bonnet about Andrea Cornelius and Gervinho still leading the line. Cornelius hasn't scored a goal this season. He's played 11 games. He's assisted once. Brunetta has at least scored in the Coppa Italia and has assisted in Serie A, and he's played like 200 minutes or something. You know, Cornelius has played 6 times the amount. But to get back to the question about Kraus, it's complicated. He does seem to be in it for the long haul. You know, I spoke to him within days of him buying Parma. I met him. We had an interview which is up on my website about what he wanted from Parma, and he was keen to stress, you know, this isn't like a business thing. This is a project that he feels very passionately about. Not only Parma Calcio, the club, but also Parma the city, everything that surrounds the club. But if you take Parma to Serie B, it's difficult to keep the fans on side, you know, particularly in a season where the fans aren't in the stadium to be there, to feel like they were part of the season. If Parma fans left the Tardini in January or February 2020, when they were knocking on the door of a European place. It's easy to forget that. They were in contention for Europa League football. It was probably never going to happen. The players themselves told us that they were still focusing on surviving, but I mean, Atalanta do that until the 35th round as well, so you can't read too much into that, right? But if the Parma fans left on at the end of January competing for Europe and they come back in Serie B, I'm not sure how the atmosphere is going to be there. It seems to be turning a little bit. I'm not going to say it's toxic and they're baying for blood or anything, right? But people appear a little bit frustrated, and I'm not sure how much longer that is sustainable for.
Well, yeah, it is very deflating. You see a team that does have somewhat solid history in Italian soccer, and then just them to get relegated and stuff, and you left. Like you said it perfectly. They were in somewhat good hands, and then you come back and what's this mess? Like what do we do from here? Type of thing, and like maybe like a lack of sense of direction right now, I guess too. And fans don't like being in the dark. They don't like seeing their club not have any form of consistency or any idea of which direction to go in, because then they don't know what to do and how to follow, what to expect even. If your club's going through, let's say, a rebuild, like, okay, we're gonna have growing pains, but if Parma is, for lack of a better term, in a tire fire, like, what do we do? What do we expect? Do we go to a game and expect some kind of poor performance, or are we actually going to have a fighting chance in this game, or give it our all? So, but I guess moving on from Parma to Atalanta. This is my Atalanta question for you. So it's very obvious in the past 3 seasons. We've seen Atalanta become one of the more competitive teams in Serie A now, and I think in their second ever Champions League run, they're still showing that, hey, last year wasn't just a fluke. We're actually a somewhat competitive team. We can give a dog. We have a dog in the fight, so to speak. Should Atalanta try to go for a bigger name in the next transfer market to kind of put them up there, or should they probably try to look within and probably try to grow one of their own to be that I guess that number one star for them? I'm not saying that, for example, like Zapata is not enough. He's great and stuff, but I mean, like, maybe like an elite striker, or maybe an all-star midfield type of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, should Atalanta probably go for that to like that they kind of keep themselves in there, or just look within for it?
I remember when it was after the Champions League final where Gareth Bale scored you remember the ridiculous overhead kick, and then he scored the fluky goal against Liverpool. So what was that, 2018? It was Cristiano Ronaldo's last big game for Real Madrid. Yeah. And one of my friends jokingly said, "Oh, imagine if someone like Gareth Bale signed for Atalanta." And I said at the time it'd be the worst thing that could happen to them. And I still stand by that. Not just Gareth Bale, right, but a big player coming into that environment would have the potential to just destroy everything and completely unsettle the atmosphere that Gasperini has built, right? This season, you saw the first time Gasperini's authority was deemed to have been questioned, Papu's gone. And Papu Gomez was the closest thing to a star that Atalanta had.
Yeah.
He was the captain. He was the guy who made everything tick. Like, absolutely everything Atalanta did was focused on Papu Gomez. Now he's not there. And he wasn't an ego, So if someone big came in, I think they would probably rock up and think, oh, look, I'm here at this provincial club who have been overachieving, but now the big boy is here and they're going to bow down to me. I don't think it would be a good idea. As far as developing youth players goes, it's been a while, unfortunately, since we've seen like a young academy player get into the Atalanta first team. There was Gasperini's first and second season where the likes of Gianluca Mancini, who I know had been signed from elsewhere before, but Petagna, who was a youngster, Conti, Spinazzola, who were younger guys, not all academy graduates, of course. But then there was Gagliardini, Kessi, who very much did come through with Atalanta. Since those first 2 seasons, Atalanta haven't really had those kids coming through, right? Bastoni is at Inter doing well now, but he never really played for Atalanta. He got a couple of games and then went out on loan to Parma to make his name. Filippo Malagoni was there with Bastoni as well. He's now doing okay at Genoa. He'll probably come back and get sold. But I don't know. I think the current scouting network seems to be doing a pretty good job of dipping into the European leagues that aren't the top five, right? So the leagues that aren't England, France, Germany, Spain, and Italy,
Yeah.
like going to Belgium, going to Denmark, going to Croatia, and picking up these guys who not a lot of people in Italy know about, so they're coming in for a little bit cheaper, and seeing what they can make of them. And I think that's probably just the way to keep it going. Sign relatively cheap, sell them on when it works, and get the guys like Martin de Roon, Remo Freuler, and build a team around them, because they're the guys who you can't replace.
Yeah, I think you said it well, and I think if it ain't broke, don't fix it, kind of thing. It's kind of been Atalanta's bread and butter, as we've seen over these years. So I would absolutely probably agree with you on that one, because it brings unnecessary maybe pressure when already they're playing without any pressure. It seems like week in and week out they just love to play calcio, and it shows on the pitch. But you brought up Papu Gomez's name, and obviously that has been one of the biggest names surrounding Atalanta. Obviously as of late, maybe the fallout with him and Gasperini. What did you make of everything from top to bottom, Connor? Now seeing that Papu's gone, is it a big void? Is it something? I mean, everybody's replaceable, but how much of an impact Papu had on Atalanta? I understand now they're doing good, but is it for the long run too that we'll still see this type of success, or was Papu should have stayed, and was he supposed to be the center of and the heart of everything?
Yeah, no, he absolutely was. He said everyone is replaceable, and everyone probably is except for him, because you don't go and pick up a player like that. If you look around Europe, the kind of things he does, players can't do what he does. You've got like Leo Messi can do it, Kevin De Bruyne can do it. Players at the absolute top level do what he does, and beyond that, they don't. Especially with the consistency at which he did it every game, and people falling over Josip Ilicic, who on his day is a phenomenally gifted player and one of the most enjoyable players to watch on his day. But his day comes 7, 8, 9 times a season. Papu delivered 38. Every time Papu played, he did something. Yeah, no, exactly right. Every time he played, 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10 as the bare minimum. Ilicic floats between a 9 and a 2, We saw him against Cagliari at the weekend. And he was marked out of the game by Daniele Rugani. I know, right? I don't have the words to describe how I felt about that, because it's infuriating. It's absolutely infuriating. And Papu didn't have those games, never. And if he did have one of those games, you could bet your bottom dollar that he was still going to be scrapping at the edge of his own box to win the ball back when Atalanta didn't have possession. Ilicic doesn't do that. So I think, look, nobody knows what happened. It's like a top secret of Zingonia. Nobody knows what actually happened. We've got the original official line, which was that Gomez was asked to play on the right and responded no while he was on the pitch against Midtjylland. And then they had a bust up at halftime. And that's clearly the point at which it all went wrong. But then since Gasperini is saying he needed to adapt his team, and Pessina offers more, and Pessina offers something different, but there's no way. I'm just not having it. And I don't think anyone could ever believe that Gasperini would choose to adapt his system to play Matteo Pessina, as good as he is, instead of Papu Gomez. If you're making that change, you're binning off Ilicic, right? Who's known as being a grandmother because he can't move. He's the guy you sacrifice. And I mean, I'm absolutely heartbroken by it. I was at the time when it first happened. I was when he left. I still am now. I can't quite come to terms with the fact that Papu Gomez isn't an Atalanta player anymore, I watch Sevilla play now to watch him, but I still can't register with the fact that he's playing for a different club. And he's playing in the role that he played in Gasp's first season and under Eddie Reja, and if he was there with Stefano Colantuono on the left of a front three. And it's like, we've seen him do that, and we know he's good at that, but he's better doing the other things. He's shown in the last few years he's better at the other things. And I think it's a shame for Atalanta, for Gasperini, and also for Papu that it went the way it went. You'd imagine it was due to stubbornness on Gasperini's part. He's not exactly the easiest guy to get along with. You've everyone that doesn't support Atalanta hates Gasperini, and people now want to see Atalanta lose, which is a remarkable thing, right? There's this provincial club playing in the Champions League against Real Madrid, and fans of Italian teams want Real Madrid to win because they hate Gasperini so much. It's mad. It's absolutely mad. But the Gomez thing, it's bizarre because even that Michelin game was his 250th game for Atalanta, and he came out his Instagram post after the game. I mean, he knew he had a fight with Gasperini, but he probably thought it was just one of their fights. They've both said, "Oh, we fight all the time, but we move on from it." Like a month before this one, Papa came out and said, "Giving my all for the shirt and the city that I always leave my life on the pitch for." And about 2 weeks before that, he was talking about how he wanted to finish his playing career with Atalanta. He wanted to have a post-playing role at the club, and he was happy with his family in Bergamo, and he wanted to be there for life. And Papu had quite deliberately not done that until the last couple of years. He had always said, "I'm happy in Bergamo, I'm happy with Atalanta, but if a big European club comes knocking, my door is open." But when he got Atalanta to the Champions League, he had these big offers, and he's on record as saying, it means more. It means more for me to have gotten to the Champions League with Atalanta than to have just gone into a Champions League club. And then it means all that bit more to beat a big European club in Valencia, right? To get a point against Man City, to go until the 91st minute against PSG in a position of an advantage. And then everything just collapsed like a house of cards. And it's hard to wrap your head around. Like, it really, really is. And I don't think it will ever be easy to understand or to accept until we know what actually happened.
We're going to find out in someone's biography one day. Whether it's Gasperini's or Gomez. We'll see. Or maybe one of them will go on Tiki-Taka and tell the truth. We'll see. I wanted to ask you about that. Obviously, the Champions League coming up next week against Real Madrid. We had a question on Twitter from Mario Alberto Catenaccio Mario on Twitter. He writes, "Atalanta, in my opinion, are in better form than Real Madrid. Can you realistically see them advance to the next round? Do you think Atalanta's offense will be a key factor in order for them to move on?"
Yeah, I think it might be influenced more by Real Madrid's defensive issues. Sergio Ramos won't be there for the first leg at least. Dani Carvajal won't be there for the first leg at least. They've got issues, but they've got a bloody good goalkeeper, at least in Thibaut Courtois. At least he's been good for the last 18 months. Before that, I was always a bit unconvinced by him, but he's delivering for them this season and last. He's basically winning them games himself. And beyond that, they've got 8 injuries altogether, Real Madrid. So there is, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but there is a huge chance that Atalanta do something next week. Yeah. Whether or not it's the same situation when they meet in the second leg and all of the big guns are back. And look, how many times have Real Madrid been written off in the Champions League and gone on to win for, You can't write Real Madrid off, even if they don't have any of their first 11 players, because there's just something about them, particularly in Europe, particularly under Zinedine Zidane. It's different. But look, it's unbelievable to say, but Atalanta, of course they have a chance. Of course they have a chance. I think Gasperini will be saying, as soon as this Napoli game finishes at the weekend, I think Gasperini's going to be telling his players, we're going to beat Real Madrid this week. He's not going to be saying we're going to go and give it our best shot. Look, when he speaks publicly, of course he will, but when he's speaking behind closed doors, I wouldn't be surprised if he's saying we're going to beat these and we're going to show them what we can do. And I wouldn't put it past them. The PSG game last year, Atalanta, for the last 5-6 rounds of the Serie A season, had about 45 minutes in their legs, and in every second half they were done. they had just about enough to get to 90 minutes against PSG, having taken off Duvan, having taken off Papu, having taken off everybody. I mean, they got I can't even remember. It was Jacobo Deriva came on for his Champions League debut in the quarterfinals against PSG. He had played, I think, once in Serie A all season. Now he's on loan in Serie B. This is the kind of player Atalanta had to bring on last season because they were just running on empty. And they led PSG 1-0 into the 90th minute. And then the tank was empty. They couldn't do anything against Kylian Mbappe, who had just come off the bench. I mean, you saw what he did against Barcelona the other night. He's one of the best players of this generation, and he came off the bench.
PK still reaching.
No, yeah, you're dead right. I think Rafa Toloi might be as well from last season. Because even that game, Neymar was phenomenal, and Atalanta had used up all of their bookings. They were just rotating kicks on Neymar. And it got to the point where they couldn't make any other kicks without getting someone sent off. And it was unfortunate because what a story that would have been if they got to the semi-finals against Leipzig. Who knows what could have happened there.
Yeah, and it would have been like a fantastic story too. Like this, I think was the season before where like Man United eliminated PSG with only 2 starters or something like that. And it would have probably, I don't want to say muddied PSG's name in Champions League soccer even more, but it would have been definitely another exclamation point in their I guess lackluster Champions League.
Atalanta are the antithesis of PSG. They're a provincial club who have just built themselves from a local area with a great fan base, a nice, not a successful history, but a rich history. You know, the club's 114 years old. Yep. PSG are younger than my dad, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, like 1970, I think. I think they're like 1970.
I think it was 1970.
The complete opposites. And it would have been a huge humiliation for PSG. Even though Atalanta are a good team, losing to a provincial club would have been the biggest humiliation for PSG.
Yeah, I think like any soccer fan rates Atalanta. They know that they're not a team that should be toyed with. Like especially for the amount of goals they scored last season, they were almost broke Milan's record for most goals in the Serie A season. Yeah, it's a team with playing with that much firepower. You should never really underestimate either. You know, especially if they can turn it on at any moment. And speaking of Champions League, we have a question from the footy culture. It's a bit of a hard one because I personally, I don't think I could see any of them being realistic. But who will be the next Italian team to win Champions League if we ever get to a team in the finals again? Anyways, but who do you think would be the next Italian team to win Champions League when it happens?
If it's not Juve, they've imploded. Because they had such a big head start. Look, Nick, I'm sorry, but they've had such a big head start on this.
Fine.
They got to all of these finals.
I tweeted it yesterday. I said we're never winning the Champions League. It's a curse. There's something. There's something.
No, but I mean, Juve just betrayed themselves though in signing Cristiano Ronaldo. They didn't need him, and they've destroyed themselves by doing it. I think they're obviously further away from winning the Champions League now than they were before Cristiano Ronaldo arrived. There was that statistic before Chiesa scored against Porto. Since Cristiano Ronaldo arrived at Juve, he was the only Juventus player to score a goal in the knockout rounds of the Champions League. Ridiculous. And it just shows how much they've shifted from being a team that was built as a team to being 10 guys who are there to serve Cristiano Ronaldo. It's mad. And look, I'm not going to get into what I feel about Juve, but it would be good to see Juve win the Champions League as far as Serie A is concerned. I don't think they'll win it this season. I think they'll struggle to get past Porto now. But if they aren't the next Italian team to win the Champions League, everyone at the club should just step down. Because can you imagine if Milan or Inter, given the state they've been for the last decade, win the Champions League before Juve? And beyond that, imagine Atalanta won the Champions League before Juve. Right? There you go. So, to answer your question, no Italian team is ever going to win the Champions League again.
Oh my God!
Never again.
No, we should go around though. If we're being realistic, Connor says nobody. Nick?
I'll say Atalanta. Why not?
Okay, there, fine. Atalanta.
I'm gonna say Inter. I'm gonna say Inter.
Because
Juve, they're on a downhill right now. Like Connor said, I mean, I think 2017 was their best chance, and I think 2018 they had a really good chance too, and they lost to Madrid in the quarters, and then after that it's just been a downhill.
See, the thing about Inter, like I want to lean towards Inter because they have the star quality players. You know, like Lukaku's playing phenomenally for them. He is their guy. But if Conte is gone at the end of the season, what's the manager that you're going to bring in that's going to take them to the Champions League final if they get there? If they get Allegri, sure, I'm willing to say Inter. But even if they win the Scudetto this year, Conte might be gone. So. You know what? But you know what, AG, just because it goes hand in hand, I think Milan would probably be and maybe 5-10 years from now, we'll see what the effects of the Zlatan effect on the team will do to the youth on that roster. We'll see what happens 5-10 years from now if Milan gets back into their old like 80s, 90s, early 2000s form again.
We'll
that
see.
Just Champions League, that period of Champions League dominance, you know, so...
I agree. I'm saying any of the Milano teams. I'm saying Milan or Inter. I think once they come, finally out of this deep dark hole that they've been in for this past decade. Now that they're finally kind of surfacing a bit, I think that once everything is clicking, and if it's going to be Conte, if it's going to be another manager for Inter, once Milan gets back on track for real, I see one of the Milano teams winning it. And it's no knock to any other team. Connor made some great points. Nick made some great points about Juve. Call it curse, call it whatever you want to call it. It hasn't happened. They've had this head start, like Connor said, and I don't know if it's not soon for Juve. I don't know when it's going to be again. But any of these big Italian teams, you can't count them out. But it's going to be a while, I feel, until we finally actually can say an Italian team is going to win the Champions League, which is sad, but. Hopefully we can stay patient and for that day to come. But I guess that's pretty much all we had for you, Connor. I know it's getting real late. I know you're a night owl. We know that, Connor. But from the three of us, honestly, down, from the bottom of our hearts, we're super grateful for you to come on. Shoot the shit, talk Calcio, talk Atalanta, talk Parma. Where can everybody find yourself on social media, your podcast, all the great work that you do for Forza Italian Football?
You get me I can't remember, at Con J Clancy on Twitter. And Instagram's the same thing, just because, as you can see, my memory's not always the best. Then go to Forza Italian Football for all of the Italian news, the match reports, everything that we do from Italy as well in more normal times. Hopefully in a couple of months things will be a little bit better there. And then the podcast is the Forza Italian Football podcast as well. But no, guys, thanks. It's been nice to come on and talk about Atalanta this time. Parma in the summer was okay, but I was a bit worried when we started talking about Parma today. I was like, oh no, I thought I escaped Parma this time. But there we go.
No, we had to switch it up this time, and it's funny, you cover the team, but you don't talk too highly about them, and I guess rightfully so. Rightfully so. I mean, it's a bit of a dark time for Parma, but we know you love Atalanta.
Diversity too. We like to have diversity too. We always tend to have like the very generic fan bases on, of all the top flight teams, but it's rare that we'll get an opportunity to talk about clubs like Atalanta or Parma. So we appreciate the fact that you still kind of discussed it too.
If you ever want someone to come on and talk Sassuolo, I'm your guy. I go there more often than most people as well, I think. So, yeah.
There we go. We got another Sassuolo guy. We'll definitely keep you on tabs, Connor. There's no doubt about that. We love our boy Ciccio Caputo here on the podcast. I think little Birdie told me that you might have a soft spot for Ciccio as well.
Might be in your Twitter bio.
Yeah, the soft spot is enormous for Ciccio.
So we can all come on common ground, the four of us, on that topic there.
I think we could start a Ciccio Caputo podcast.
Backlog. Guys, I'm in for that. I don't care if it's at 9 a.m. Even as I was saying to you earlier, I'm in for that.
As a boy, Connor.
Anyways, thanks again so much for joining us.
Cheers, guys. I'll speak to you again.
Here's the free kick. Laid back for Bastoni! What a fantastic hit! It is 2-0 Spezia!
A rough week for Milan fans, Adriano. Ahead of one of the biggest derbies in probably years. Like, when was the last time the Derby della Madonnina had such Scudetto implications? At least 10 years ago, right? Wow. You heard there, Bastoni. So you got one Bastoni scoring against you, Spezia, on the weekend. You're hoping that another Bastoni doesn't score against you on the weekend against Inter. 2-2 today against Red Star Belgrade. Red Star Belgrade team that had 10 men. I don't know. Is it kind of like nervous times for Milan fans ahead of the derby?
I don't think so. It's funny. It's funny how you brought Milan's faults ahead of the Juve faults. But
I was going to get that.
We'll let it slide. We'll let it slide.
I can't intro myself in. Come on.
I like that. But,
I thought it was called the Nicholas guys. What is this?
The Nicolino boys or something.
The Nicolino boys.
But back to seriousness. What did I say last week? Nick mentioned it. I said it as well. The Spezia game was that trap game in between a Europa League match and the Derby della Madonnina, like Nick said, the biggest derby. Already on its own, no matter form and whatnot, implications or whatever, it's one of the bigger derbies, across Europe and across Calcio. So, I mean, listen, from top to bottom, that game was there's no excuse. There was nothing to say that happened that was good. I think from top to bottom, on a mental, physical, tactical point of view, everything was off. We saw it. Probably, I don't know what the only guy that we can say maybe he did I guess his part, even though he let in 2 goals, was Gigio Donnarumma. But even at that, it wasn't. It's not saying much. But I mean, listen, it goes to show that again, and I feel like a broken record saying this, and there's no easy games in Serie A, especially with these smaller clubs. And you know what? Hats off to Spezia, and this is a Spezia team that we've mentioned in podcasts, past, that have been eye-opening. They've showed teams that, listen, this might be our first time ever in Serie A, but we're here to compete, and we're not going to just be the typical promotion side that's going to sit back, just defend and hold on for dear life. And they pressed, and they showed it against Milan. So that's credit to Italiano's men, because again, from top to bottom, they worked hard. And he's not. Again, they're not a typical. It seems like they're not a typical promotion side, and it seems like he's not a typical promotion coach, right? And I think a lot of credit has to go to Italiano, because he prepared Spezia well, and it seems like Milan and Pioli and Romagnoli, everybody just off, right? And took them a bit maybe for granted. And if they were listening to the podcast, they should have fucking known trap game, like I said, and they should have prepared better. But today's game, I unfortunately couldn't watch it. I was at work. I saw the result of 2-2. I saw it was 10 men for Red Star, and just a own goal. It seemed like a bit of an interesting game, but listen, I think the 2 road goals, like we know how crucial road goals are in these knockout stages, are huge. Now they have to just do their job in Milano, which, I mean, fingers crossed, I hope they can do, because I think, again, this is a tournament that we should be progressing in, especially at this stage. Listen, it's derby week. We always say derby, any derby is a whole other animal, whole other beast, whole other match on its own. This is going to prove to be, I hope, the same aspect and things. So, throw format out the window. Yes, Inter's on top, in first place. Yes, they're playing well. Yes, everything seems to be clicking. Lukaku, fantastic game. Hats off to him this past match day. But you go into that game and it's a whole other thing, right? So I think it's not panic mode. Maybe this, again, fans, or you look on Twitter, you just look at fans or just analysis about it, that this traveling to Belgrade midweek Europa League maybe has a bit of an effect on the team. At the end of the day, they are professional athletes. I think It's not going to be the biggest thing, and they know that, like Nick said, this has Scudetto implications and probably the biggest game of the year, the calendar year so far in Serie A. So I'm excited. I think they can do it, and I think they can turn the page and finally be on the same page when they face Inter Sunday morning, 9 a.m. our time.
I think also like another manager that's doing well with a team that's supposed to be a relegation team, but they're not playing like one, is what Pippo Inzaghi's doing with Benevento. They're a team that have shown that if you kind of underestimate them, or if you don't really put the foot on their neck to go for the kill, they'll punish you hard. And that's what a fantastic manager can do for a team. They can be the difference maker of keeping your team for lack of a better term, a financially weak team mid-table versus being constantly cycled through Serie A to Serie B to Serie A. So but yeah, that's very nice to see in your league when you see teams that are just nearly promoted all of a sudden be, no disrespect to Milan, but for a loss to Spezia, but be that, hey, we can offer tough games too. We're not going to be a game that's just a snooze fest type of thing. So
and listen, guys, they're not even they're in 13th and 15th respectively. You mentioned Benevento.
Yeah.
We were talking about Spezia as well.
Yeah,
we had a lot of people had them not even probably being anywhere near this good, right?
I had them relegated. Them relegated along with my preseason prediction. It was Genoa, Spezia, and I think Crotone that I put as my relegated teams.
Exactly.
I had Spezia in 20th.
Exactly, right?
I expected
and who would have blamed you? Because we had no sample size of this team unless you're watching Serie B regularly, which I'm sorry guys, but I wasn't.
Last time I watched Serie B was because Napoli was in it. That was it. That was the last time I was ever watching Serie B.
There you go, right? So again, kudos to Italiano. Once again, I have to mention that, and I think he does deserve the credit. As an underrated manager and no fear, right? They had nothing. I mean, Milan had more to lose than Spezia did, if you want to just break it down that way, right? And again, Spezia played that way, no fear, and look what happened. Milan, okay, yes, off day. Every team goes through that. Every big club does, or every club for that matter does. But that was Milan's thing, and Spezia took advantage, and you got the 2-0 result.
Gianni, so Napoli gets that big 1-0 win against Juve, and then goes out today, and I already forgot who they played today. That's Europa League. Granada, yeah. I'll be honest, I wasn't able to watch any of the games today, so yeah. So it lost 2-0 to Granada, beat Juve. What did you make of each of those? Because I'll let you talk, and then I'll give my thoughts on Juve as per Idri's request.
Well, for the Juve Napoli game, I was at work. I didn't get a chance to catch all of it. Shout out to Francesco for letting me use his DAZN account when I didn't have a customer in my office. I was able to actually watch maybe 10-15 minutes of it. So unfortunately, I apologize to the listeners. I didn't have a chance to actually sit down and watch the game, but I was honestly surprised that we won. I think Napoli only won because Juve kind of shot themselves in the foot. It wasn't because Napoli was the better team. Far from it. Even prior to the game, with Manolas being out and Koulibaly being out, your two best center backs, you would have to be either really bold or someone who has no sense of what the team is to think that Napoli was going to win that game. If you're a realistic soccer fan, you went into that game saying, well, hopefully it's a close one. Hopefully it's not going to be especially when it's your biggest rival. You don't want to lose to your biggest rival like a 3-0, 4-0 game, And the fact that they walked away with a 1-0 win, Insigne getting that monkey off his back of missed penalty attempts versus Juve. Now he's 2 for 4, which is still 50%. It's not so bad, but especially that a lot of people were critiquing him for missing the past 2 versus Juve in big games. It's nice for him to see that. I loved the celebration. It was very nice. And you could tell that on the look of his face, the nerves kind of got he wasn't his face wasn't beaming, he wasn't excited. he looked very like sober, like very like almost tears in his eye because like the nerves that would have gotten to him if he would have missed that shot again, you know. So it shows that he plays for the logo on his shirt. He doesn't play for his name on his back. He does it for the city, and it's a fact that we got the 1-0 win. Fantastic. And the 2-0 loss today, I only managed to catch the second half because I worked until 3. And I also missed the Roma game because of that. But, like, if you want to say that I'm surprised that we lost, no, I'm not really surprised. I know a lot of people were super confident because I think Granada had, like, maybe, what was it, 5 or 6 of their starters injured compared to us as well. Like, we had, like, half of our roster gone too. But I think there was a fact that I saw that they brought 6 Primavera players to the game. So obviously for Napoli, you know, like they're trying their best to make do with what they have. But like the Juve game was just Murray playing on top of his head and making these key saves, you know, especially that Ronaldo chance right in front of the net. I was for sure like that's going in, and somehow Murray has the ball, you know, like you can't expect the guy to pull 2 miracle games in a row. And it showed, you know, it caught up to them. Their back line, especially the second goal, their 3 in the back collapsed. Why are you collapsing? This isn't hockey. You don't collapse. You're supposed to put pressure on the ball carrier. You know what I mean? Like soccer is very important when it's man to man. Any sport, technically, man to man is very key. But soccer, just you don't give a player with the ball space. The moment you give him just a bit of space, he has the opportunity to take that shot. And like the first goal was a beautiful cross header, right point blank range. You know, okay, it's a hard thing to say. I can't blame Meret for that. But the second one, you know, from a decent distance, if a defender would have been on him, he wouldn't have gotten that shot off in the perfect corner. So that just shows that our back line without, like, okay, Manolas aside, Koulibaly. Without Koulibaly, that back line is lost. It's completely in shambles. I don't care what people say. Di Lorenzo, you know, he's okay. He's not as good as we want him to be, but he's not bad either. He's a decent right back, but obviously, you know how much I hate the left back position of what we have to offer. And
saw a goal there.
Yeah, I know. And let's just say their depth right now on the bench for the center back position is severely lackluster. So it's thankfully it was only on the road that it was a 2-0 loss. It would be really crappy to lose at home 2-0. So thankfully it was just on the road, and if they're able to somehow shut them out in leg 2 and get those 2-3 goals, if somehow, fantastic. I'm trying to stay optimistic, but yeah, no, it's not looking good, and I don't think it's looking good for Gattuso either at the end of this summer or beginning of.
And you know what? What was it? Saturday. Saturday was Napoli Juve. I don't know if you'd agree with me here, Johnny, but I think you know Juve was the better team.
Oh, 100%.
They were the better team.
You would be an idiot to say that Napoli was a better team. You'd be an idiot to say that. As much as I despite Juve, they were completely the better team.
And it sucks, right? Because, you know, Juve was they were the better team. They lost. Wednesday against Porto, they weren't the better team, and they still lost, you know? So it there's no like a law of averages here. It's not like they went out to Porto, they weren't the better team and they come out with the win. But you know, for Saturday, I found the way they played on each, there wasn't enough creativity at all. This is, you know, a team that is severely missing Paulo Dybala right now. I know he hasn't been playing well this season, but you also got to think he hasn't been fully fit. You know, he had the guy had COVID. He had, you know, suffered a bit more than other athletes with COVID. He comes back. You know, he plays well in the summer, and then he gets like gastro or something with Argentina, then gets an injury. Now he hasn't been fit, so he's gonna come back hopefully soon. And I think that's what they're lacking, because they're controlling possession. They're controlling possession, but they can't find any creativity in the final third. And their best chances this season, their best goals this season have come off the counterattack. And you know what? They did this against Roma. They let Roma take possession because they knew Roma was also a good counter-attacking team, so they let Roma take possession, and they countered, and they won 2-0. So I think with Juve, I'd like to see them stop with the possession, because the midfield obviously isn't good enough for it. Bentancur passing in pretty much into his own net, in a way, right? I'd like to see them just try for a bit. I know they're going to be playing Crotone on Monday. You can't really try that against Crotone. That's a different ball game. But against other good teams, I like to see them sit back and go on the counter, because you got guys like that. Chiesa, obviously super fast. Cuadrado, Kulusevski's a bit. He could use his speed. Morata's pretty good on the counterattack as well. Ronaldo this season, he's trying to be a playmaker a bit more. He needs to be that target man. You saw that against Porto. He was just trying to do it all himself. Doesn't work. He needs another guy to set up goals for him, like a Dybala, like a Chiesa. So it's frustrating to see. Obviously, at least you get the one road goal against Porto. Obviously, you'd like a better result against a team like Porto, but it's a Champions League. You can't take any team lightly. I think Juve's learned that quite well in these past few seasons. So, there's still another match to go. The away goal is important, especially if they're able to get a shutout at home.
It's huge. But it's huge.
Yeah, like a player like Bentancur, he was such an underrated part of that Uruguay team. Almost 3 years ago when they lost in the semis to France, he was so young, and he's still young, but I mean, you didn't expect that from a player at his age, to be a key player for the national team. And do you feel as if he's kind of regressed over the years?
Oh yeah, for sure.
He's not the same player that Juve expected 2 years ago versus now to be.
He I think he was best in 18-19 after that World Cup, and he's regressed. I don't know what it is. It's just he looks lost out there, honestly. He looks lost.
He's had how many different managers change under him? 2, 3?
3. He's had 3 managers.
3?
Yeah.
So he's went through 3 different. I'm not saying that because every player has, or most of those core players have, but it's tough. He's still a young player. That moment, bonehead mistake. And then for what blew my mind even more, and maybe I should have thought better. I thought Juve was smarter than this. Maybe they're not. I don't know. But they still continued to play from the back after that happened. Yeah. And Szczesny still had an issue with, playing out from the back, and there was still an issue there, but they still did it. So I don't know if that's a bit of testadura. I don't know what it is, but they are lucky, fortunate, however you want to say it. I think that road goal, like Nick said, and we know it is huge. Not to say that they couldn't have gotten it done without the road goal, but I think it helps their chances a lot more. Whereas when Johnny was mentioning about the Napoli situation, I think by them not getting any road goals, it might bite them in the ass. But again, you never know. This team, I think, is still fighting for Gattuso. We saw it after the Juve match, how big it was, and all the players, that beautiful scene after the game, to all of them hugging Gattuso and really being behind them. I think maybe one of those moments can happen again in the return leg, at the Maradona. But it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. But I think, with our Italian teams, we just have to, I guess, be optimistic.
Yeah, exactly. I guess one of the most informed team right now is Inter, and they're not in Europe. But what a performance! What a performance, right, against Lazio. The Lukaku show. He's so good. Yeah. He's so fun to watch sometimes. He's so strong and quick on the ball. Just the way he ran past Pirlo on that last goal. It reminds me of Wile Coyote. Just goes. Just bye.
Mbappe before Mbappe did it against Piqué.
Yeah, I said it last week. He's been a 10-on-10 signing for Inter, barring, obviously in certain finals and certain important games, he does make his mistakes, like an own goal or blocking a header of his own teammate and stuff, he's been on the receiving end of some really crappy moments. But what did I message in the group chat? Was it 59 goals in 80-something, 90-something games for Inter? Or something like that,
it's a crazy stat. He scored his 300th career goal we all know he's been Inter's main focal point.
The guy's younger than me. He's like what, 27, like 28, like
exactly.
He's my age, 28,
he's your
27.
age, Jenny. He's your age.
Yeah.
So
It's ridiculous, like.
it's funny
300
because
goals by the age of 28 years old. Like, just think about that. In soccer, 300 goals.
It's crazy because this year the Capocannoniere is between a 36-year-old Ronaldo, 39-year-old Zlatan, and then a 28-year-old. He's 27. Lukaku.
He's a year younger. There you go.
And Immobile is in there too, I think. No.
Yeah. I forget how old he is. I think, what is he, 30 already? No, he's a 91.
He's in his 30s.
Well, I forget.
No, I think he's 30. I don't know.
I'm going to look it up.
But
cards?
But
you guys want to go for cards? Cards or MVPs, whichever one you want to start with. He's 30, by the way, Immobile. He's turning 31 on Saturday.
Oh, there you go. Speaking of birthdays, happy birthday, Roberto Baggio, today.
The great
54 years young for the GOAT, as many people like to say.
Most
unfortunately,
talented Italian player to ever play the game.
We will
never have.
Unfortunately, we couldn't
his talent
see him play.
Ever play.
Yeah, I agree.
I was a little kid seeing this guy play, and even in his last World Cup in '98, he still was an influential player on the roster. And Baggio's the type of player that a casual fan will say, "Oh, but you missed that World Cup. You missed that World Cup penalty shot." But there was another player who missed their penalty shot too that year, but nobody mentions him. They talk about Baggio, but Baggio, I told you guys in a previous show a while back. I think it was this summer, and I was only 2 years old at the time, so I don't remember anything. But I was looking at highlights. But World Cup '94. Italy only even made it to the final because of Baggio.
Yeah, for sure.
They have the full Nigeria-Italy game, which was the round of 16 game, I believe, or either round of 16 or quarterfinal. You can fact check me on that because I can't remember off the top of my head. But Italy was going to lose 1-0 to Nigeria if it wasn't for Baggio. They were down to 10 men. Italy. They had a red card, and Nigeria was the team that won the African Cup at the time. This was like their resurgent, like this when Nigeria first had their first surge of soccer talent, and Baggio just carried the team and was like, yeah, you know what, you guys want to go on to the finals? Let's go. Come along.
On my back.
It's funny. The first time I heard of Roberto Baggio, I was like in Italian school, and somebody mentioned his name and said, oh, he's the guy that missed the penalty in the World Cup. So that was the first time I heard of Baggio. I was like a little kid, and for me, that was like, Baggio became the player that missed, the goal, the penalty in the World Cup final. And it's like, then I had to learn only after that, he was actually one of the greatest of all time. So
thank God for the internet.
Yeah,
Thank
exactly.
God for the internet. I think the only thing I remember was the ponytail. That ponytail, I mean, God bless him with that hair, that he kept it up like that. But the GOAT, for sure.
Okay, we'll do our cards then. By the way, it was the round of 16 against Nigeria. Baggio scored in the 88th minute, and then in the 102nd, Gianfranco Zola was the one who got the card. Okay, we'll I just mentioned a card, so we'll start with our cards then.
Okay.
Beautiful. Who wants to take it away, Johnny?
I'll take it away. For me, I'm gonna have to give a yellow card. I wanted to give it to Nicholas because he took all the good MVP choices, but
this guy says I wasted them all. This guy had 1, 2, 3.
But just in all seriousness, I would have to give it to Lazio's defense. They really let the team down versus Inter. Now, I'm not saying Inter is an easy team to manage offensively. They're not. Don't get me wrong, but especially that they're trying to fight to stay in the top 4, to make it the champions again next year. And they do have the roster that's totally capable of doing that. They really crapped the bed in that game. And I'm not saying it's because I'm a Romanista that I'm trying to hate on Lazio. It's not that at all. I think a Lazio fans would agree with me that they were kind of let down by that back line. And that's why they got my yellow card. That was a very crucial loss that they had.
This is definitely going to be another yellow.
Adrian?
Yeah, no, it was a tough. Just to bounce off of that quickly, it was tough for Lazio. We knew that was the bigger game of the weekend, or one of the bigger games of the weekend, and just going back to the Lukaku and Parolo, whatever. Jerry, if you're listening, we know Patrick didn't cover Lautaro. We know, but Parolo, what's he doing there? I'm sorry, what's he doing there? I know Inzaghi likes to play him there, but not for me. But moving on quickly, my red card, Milan, 100%. It wasn't even an option for me this week. I didn't want to look at other games. I had said it last week. I mentioned it earlier. Trap game for the Spezia game against Milan on the road. And yeah, like I mentioned earlier, top to bottom, terrible. Nothing. There was nothing to really say that, we're going to take some good out of this. There was no good out of this. It's you move on to, well, they moved on today for the Europa League, and now it's deadbeat time, and they better show up. And again, like I said earlier, I think they will. And even if they happen to tie, lose, what have you, and I had listened to our boys at Milan Weekly Podcast. Our man Steve had mentioned that if this slipping happens for Milan, we got to stop it as soon as possible. And I think it's going to happen sooner rather than later. I don't see the slip hopefully happening for a long period of time. But again, red card this week, Milan against Spezia. There's no excuse. Huge red card.
Going to go to the pocket and get out the red. It's a red card.
So for me, I'm going to have to give a yellow card to the officiating in UEFA. It's become painful to watch. Just how inconsistent it is. We saw
in Europe.
In Europe, between Champions League and Europa League. We saw it on Tuesday. Frankie De Jong goes down like a fly in the box. I don't know if you guys saw that, but it didn't look like there was any contact at all.
That was a bad call. But now I know where you're going to go, and I don't agree. But continue.
That was a terrible call. and then you go to Porto on Wednesday, and Ronaldo's knocked down in the box, and the referee decides, I'm not even going to listen to the VAR. I'm just going to end the match right there. And then you go today with Milan, another kind of questionable call. Personally, I mean the call on Hernandez. Personally, I personally don't mind it. There was contact, a lot more contact than De Jong, but less contact than Ronaldo. So you got these 3 penalties, 1 no contact, 1 more contact, 1 a bit of contact, and you got 3 different results. You just want consistency. We like to complain about the officiating in the Serie A, but at least it's consistent. With Chiellini's penalty on the weekend, I'm not going to complain too much about that, because we saw that with Kessie on Ilicic, I believe it was, in Milan Atalanta. So it's consistent. That's the rule. That's what they're going to call. Fine, call it. Be consistent every time. And in UEFA, it's not like that. And the problem is that they're taking officials from different leagues, from different countries, who officiate under different or slightly different rules every week. So, I'd like to see a bit more consistency with UEFA. Maybe they have just officials who just do Champions League and Europa League, maybe like senior officials, and that's all they do all season. They don't go back to their home country. They just focus on this, and I think that's how you're going to get more consistency, because you got the best soccer in the world, you got the best talent, and you don't want to be talking about the officials the next day. You just want a good, you just want like what we saw with Dortmund. You want Haaland to score 2 goals. What we saw with PSG, Mbappe scoring 3 goals. That's what you want to be talking about the next day. So for me, that's going to be a yellow card.
And he now sees a flash of yellow before his eyes.
MVPs?
Take it away, so we know where we can choose from.
Okay. I wrote down a few. I'm going to go for the obvious one. Lukaku. I said it before. The Lukaku show for Inter. 2 goals and the assist. I mean, he was fantastic. There's no other way to put it. He's got my MVP of the week.
Away by Brozovic now for Lukaku. And Parolo trying to deal with him, and he can't. And he rolls it for Lautaro Martinez.
Inter on the counter, surge to the top of the Serie A table.
Adri?
Yeah, well, so then since now I know where to go, I'm still gonna shout out both the other names that you mentioned because I think they both need some spotlight. Johnny gave one of them some spotlight before, but Meret is one shout out for sure. I know all the shots that he faced might not have all been super dangerous shots. They were kind of right at him. He just had to really be there and not be butterfingers, right? But just the fact that he wasn't supposed to start, we all know. Ospina gets hurt in goddamn warm-ups 20 minutes before the damn match. And Meret gets put into action. Now, that's kudos to Napoli. They have two solid goalkeepers that can, I think, both do the job and both can be starters on almost every Serie A team in the league, right? So just a shout out for Meret because he did come out big in a big game. And it's not like they were playing, Parma. We'll go back to Conor Clancy. They weren't playing Parma. They were playing Juventus, right? So shout out for him there. Again, Johnny mentioned Insigne before. I'm shouting him out again. Monkey off his back, like Johnny said. 100th goal for Napoli is just fantastic for the Neapolitan himself. It's just so monumental. He's finally in that 100 club with some elite names up there. Will he catch Maradona? Will he catch Hamsik? Will he catch Mertens? I don't know. But just for him to be in that conversation, for him being a Napolitan, it's a great thing. On San Valentino, it was just perfect. So 2 shout outs for them. But I guess I'm riding on Johnny's teams this week. But again, Nick mentioned Veretout in the Google Doc. I'm saying it. Veretout, the 2 goals that he scored over the weekend against Udinese. And listen, guys, besides Roma and Atalanta, all the big dogs shot the bed this week, right? And they were the only 2 teams that really stepped up and claimed the points that they needed, just to stay in that conversation of Europe.
Only Italian team to win in Europe too.
That too. That's true for Roma this afternoon as well. It was huge. But Veretout, I think, has been a staple since he's been with Roma. He's been one of their better players, I think, over these past seasons. And again, took the game by his horns and scored 2 goals. And for me, gets my MVP of the week.
Mancini, nice shape on the cross, and there's the opening goal. Jordan Veretout stealing in unmarked.
Johnny?
And just to touch upon Veretout, I would argue that he's been Roma's MVP this season. If at the end of the year we take a look at things, he scored in big games, like, for example, that first Juve game that they played against each other. He's been great on the spot kicks. He's probably one of the better spot kick players in Europe because he's very consistent with his shots. I'm not saying he's the best. I'm saying he's one of the better ones. He's consistently scoring. He's not a guy who will score once every 10 games. It's like seems like about once every 4 or 5 games he'll get a goal for Roma, which is always nice to see, especially coming from the mid. So
exactly.
Especially coming from the mid. So if it wasn't, that's what I said. Like, Roma still has to find a way to beat a team in the top 6 position. But if you keep on bullying the teams below the top 6. You don't have to worry about not making the Champions League next year.
My favorite stat from Serie A this season: Spezia has 7 points against the top 6, and Roma has 3.
That.
I think that's my favorite stat. That's amazing.
That's
amazing.
I love it.
It's
It's insane. Again, hats off to Italiano.
Yeah. So my MVP of the week will actually be Ciccio Caputo. He got a goal and assist this past weekend for Sassuolo. Very big game for them because, especially with the Lazio loss, they're only 6 points out of a top 6 spot. I'm not saying that they're guaranteed to be one of those top 6 teams or they're looking like to be one of those top 6 teams, but if Sassuolo can make it into even like a Europa League playoff spot into that sixth place position, that would be fantastic for them as a club. So. Crucial win for them. Like I said, I'm not saying that they're going to be there, But how cool would it be to see a team like Sassuolo get to that 6th place spot? So it might suck because it might cost. It's going to come at the cost of like either Atalanta or Lazio, which is not what you really want to see. But I think it speaks volumes for the league if we have somewhat a rotation of clubs playing in European competition. So all in all, I'm getting off on a tangent, but focusing on this past game, Caputo being the guy for Sassuolo, like usual. So he gets my MVP of the week.
So that will do it for us. Adri, where can you find us on social media?
Yeah, guys, like we say every week, first off, big thank you for everybody that continues to follow, support, like, share. We, from the three of us, we appreciate it. Thanks once again to Conor Clancy for, this guy coming on early morning in Ireland. Just came back from Italy. We're super appreciative. So again, ragazzi, where we can find us at the Calcio Guys on all social media platforms. That's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook as well. Catch our podcast on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Give it a share, like, subscribe, and we'll be back next week to talk about more Calcio.
Thanks for listening.
Ciao.
Bye.
The Calcio Guys is a weekly podcast by Adriano DiNardo, Gianni Delacoli, and myself, Nicholas Di Giovanni. We want to bring Calcio back to its roots in our communities and share stories from around the world about why we're passionate about the beautiful game. You can listen to us anywhere where you listen to your podcasts, including Spreaker, Google Podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, iHeart Radio, and Mixcloud. Give us your opinion on social media at The Calcio Guys on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. The outro song is The Last Ones by Jazar.